All right, welcome back to another episode of the Extreme Lifestyle Living Podcast. Now, obviously, today you're listening to the audio. There is no video. I was actually going to take an entire break off of this week's episode, but I just think, long story short, just going through a lot of different changes within the business and the way I'm handling my life, and I've been super honest with a lot of that stuff as of lately, and it's all from the standpoint of, and if you've listen to the episode, scaling your life on non-negotiables. It's really just allowing myself to get into a position to just be the best version of myself, even more than I already have this last past 2-3 years of building my life. And I think the biggest thing that I want to take note of that is that, in today's topic of the episode is, embracing the overwhelm. And I'm not saying I'm overwhelmed by any means. I'm overwhelmed from a positive standpoint, I guess, like a tiny bit, because literally before I started recording this episode, I started to think about other things I want to do. And, there's only so much time in the run of a day. And that's why I'm talking about, making sure that I do things from the right standpoint, because, at the end of the day, many of you guys listening, many of you guys that maybe just recently started tuning in, however it may be, is we're all on this journey of life, and we're all just trying to be the best versions of ourselves, emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, in the whole 9 yards. And I think the biggest thing with that is, overwhelm is one of those things that's going to be around all the fucking time, because when you start to think of more things than you can handle, then you're overwhelmed, period. You know what I mean? It can be negative, it can be positive, but with me even just doing the audio outside of just with the video is, I was just going to take the time off, but I just love doing the podcast, and I really, today I was more in the mood to just kind of walk back and forth in the house with my microphone and just talk, about the episode. And that's I'm telling you, the podcast is a very therapeutic thing for me, and because it's self-expression, right? But to jump into today's episode of embracing the overwhelm, going back to we're all in journeys in our life, I think the biggest thing I want to talk about just the tone of this entire episode is embracing the overwhelm. Overwhelm is going to be here all the time, whether, like I said, it's a negative standpoint and you're spiraling, or it's a positive standpoint and it's holy fuck, look how much great things you need to do. And, to give some examples of some positive ones are for me in the business, it is quote unquote work, but I have a lot of projects I'm working on right now. I have a lot of impact I want to give, a lot of just opportunity. The way that I've changed my life is crazy, and I know so many people around me can do it too. Anyone can do it at that, to be honest, at that point. But it's just I really want to just now learn how to give back on a bigger level, bigger magnitude, and really change my life from that standpoint. Because out of everything I've done the last few years, the best thing I've done is seen people's lives change within my own creation. And it's so gratifying. So, I'm overwhelmed because I'm so excited about the future. I got so many things going on that it's almost like I catch myself negatively impacting myself with it, because I'm just burdening myself with not being able to do more. And that's really good positive overwhelm, because I've created this life. I love every avenue of it, and it's no different than some of you guys that are having very, very advanced careers, taking your masters, things like this. It's a positive overwhelm, as much as it may feel negative during the times you're exhausted and pushing your paces. But you're about to level up beyond comprehension. It's no different than starting a family or changing your life within the gym. The initial change is hard. It's not going to happen overnight, over a few weeks, but the bigger thing's coming. So it's positively overwhelmed. The negative overwhelmed is when you're spiraling. You're allowing your anxiety and depression to get ahead of you. You're overwhelmed from lack of control, lack of authority, almost reacting to everything. That's the type of overwhelm that you want to mitigate. And obviously there's a very fine balance of it, but, along the lines of embracing both sides of it, you just got to really be able to embrace it. And, unfortunately, us as humans, we're so much more, I guess, I don't want to say reluctant, but, ready, or I guess at our disposal, we're ready to excel energy towards the negative. It's not like we can all sit here and be this is how great my day was today. But if I was to ask you, what was bad about your day, you'd be quick to bring up something negative or bad about your life or something you want to change. We're always so quick to focus on, we do not have X, we need to do X, and that's where we can create a negative spiraling of embracing overwhelm in that regard. But, overwhelm is just going to be something that happens all the time. You're going to feel it when you're just tired. You're going to feel it when you have a lot going on with your personal life. You're going to feel it at work if you're dealing with different projects. You're going to feel it at times when you're trying to look at yourself in the mirror and feel better about yourself. You're going to have a busy day. Everything goes against the way you planned it. You look in the mirror and you're overwhelmed with your emotions. It happens. But, I think the thing that I want you guys to realize, like I said, with the context of embracing it, is that it doesn't mean you're less than. And I think that's the biggest thing that you can do with yourself in terms of managing your emotions and feelings around being overwhelmed, negatively or positively, is knowing that you're not associated with those emotions or feelings. Are they real? 1000%. But that's where the paradox and the silver lining is because the fact that they're real is where you start to spiral because you start to blame yourself for the emotions. To a degree, you are correct with blaming your emotions because you need to take ownership, but it's not blaming yourself from the standpoint of like, oh, I must feel this emotion, which means I'm overwhelmed, so I'm less than or not doing something good enough. No, it means that that's a signal from your body and your mind to say, hey, let's pay attention to something right now because we're starting to like, you know what I'm saying, be a little bit overwhelmed. We're starting to, maximize what we're capable of doing right now in terms of our mental capacity. This is the exact same example if you drive a standard and you're driving it and the RPMs are fucking 6, 8, 10,000 and it's like, are you going to shift? That's a sign that you're beginning overwhelmed. There's other signs too. Say you're running. Like literally, this is another sign too. Say you're running 5K, 10K, 15K. There's going to be a point you start feeling either your lower back, one of your knees, your ankle, something starts to speak to you to overwhelm your body. Hey, we're pushing our pace. And if you don't tend to it, it'll tend to you, making negative overwhelm. Same with the gym. You're going to the gym. Eventually, there's going to be a time where you're going to start to have to rest or change your movement patterns and imbalances, your left shoulder, your right shoulder, when your hips, your knees, something starts to change, and that's a sign, no different than a physical sign of overwhelm. So, it's not about like, oh my God, I'm doing something wrong or I'm not in the right position. It's more just, okay, taking a step back and being able to embrace the overwhelm and cycle through the details of it. Like, what is it? Because that's where you can start to learn, where the positive overwhelm can really become, very opportunistic for you in your life. And what I mean by that is, for me, I had an EQI test done. So, an emotional intelligence quiz of, my traits that I'm good at, things that I'm, I avoid, I numb, things like that. And, stress tolerance was always my highest, one of my highest attributes of who I am. So, when I learned to look at my overwhelm and negative emotions that were associated with the anxiety, the imposter syndrome, the the self-worth, I don't know, oh my God, am I good enough, X, Y, and Z, all these different things, I was able to embrace it and tackle it head on and just to learn what it said or learn what it meant. That's when you can start to learn that there's just a lot of information within the lines there. And that's all that the overwhelm and the emotions and feelings you're feeling are trying to tell you. No matter how negative they are, that's in a whole other conversation of how you regulate it, find out, and all these different things. But, that's where you have to rely on yourself, your people around you, your routines, your self-care, your things that you love. A big thing for me is going to the gym. Being able to embrace my overwhelm is going to the gym, get a physical output, get some exertion, stuff like that, get some aggression, stuff like that. Maybe it's going for an extra walk, maybe it's for sleeping in, getting some extra rest, or, watching your favorite movie, or reading a book, or journaling, whatever it is. It's embracing is how you get to the other side of it, because avoiding is never going to do anything. And that's why I'm saying, the context of it is, it's a relationship with yourself, with the overwhelm, because you got to embrace it, because it's never going to go away. You're always going to have some part of your life that you're overwhelmed with. And if you start to run away, that's avoiding it. And every single time you avoid it, you're not being proactive. You're not in control. You're not the authority. Same with numbing. Numbing is, either you do drugs, you smoke a shit ton of weed, you go out and drink, you binge watch Netflix shows, you do things that avoid or numb you, make you feel I don't really feel it anymore. It just kind of makes you just kind of a part of yourself, a shell of yourself. A lot of people use food, but at the end of the day, embracing overwhelm is going to be the biggest thing that you can do, and realizing it has nothing to do with your self-worth or who you are as a person. Embracing your overwhelm is what's going to give you the clarity and the certainty that, where you're at is either where you should be or where you're at is where you need to change, and a prime example of that is when you embrace your life. Say, let's use me as an example right now, and I'm a little bit overwhelmed. It's because I have 1 month left this year. It's December 1st that I'm recording this episode. You guys are going to be listening to it December 2nd. And, this is crazy. 2025 is right around the corner. So I'm overwhelmed from the standpoint of reflecting on 2024, trying to make sure I close out this fucking year strong. I'm did I do everything I needed to do? And let's go after it, but let's also make sure I to rest, relax, and take care of myself. An example of a negative one is looking at yourself and being oh shit, I don't like how I look in the mirror. And then both situations you're going to reflect. And, me with this situation I'm in currently, I'm positively reflecting because I'm proud of where I'm at. And then it's I want to do so much more before I go. So, let's make sure I'm critical with the time I got. And if I was looking in the mirror not happy with what I saw, then it's the opposite end where you're fuck, you start to reflect on the things of, you should have done this here, or you should have done that here, and all these different things, and that's how you negatively spiral and judge who you are, X, Y, and Z. But nonetheless, they're both answers. Are you where you want to be? And both of them have answers, right? And that's what you need to do as well. But that's all I want to talk about. Talking about overwhelm, your emotions, everything else that comes with it. But it's embracing it is going to be, is pivotal to your success. And I think it's insane for that, for you to embrace that and just really learn what the other side of your life could look like when you start to gain your own clarity and control of everything. So, other than that, if you guys ever need anything, don't ever hesitate to reach out. It's, the extreme lifestyle living. It's a brand of, you're living an extreme lifestyle by embracing everything that you're taking ownership of everything. Doesn't matter what it is, how good it is, how bad it is, left, right, up, down. You're going to take it, say it's yours, and materialize your life in front of your own self. And that's why it's so important to embrace not only the overwhelm, but absolutely everything in your life. So other than that, enjoy the rest of your motherfucking weeks, and let's keep doing what we do best, and let's show the fuck up. Let's get it.